Something unprecedented is unfolding above us, and it may change how we see the universe forever. An interstellar object, catalogued as 3I Atlas, has entered our solar system, moving faster than anything humanity has ever tracked. At first, scientists believed it would simply sweep past Mars in a harmless flyby, but the latest calculations from Harvard and NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory tell a different story. Its trajectory is tightening, its pulses are deliberate, and for the first time, the numbers suggest it could strike the red planet. Instruments from Hubble, Webb, and the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter are recording signals that no comet should produce: timed bursts, metallic echoes, unnatural rhythms. If these observations hold true, then 3I Atlas is not just a comet, it may be a messenger, and its message is heading straight for Mars.
Welcome to Velocity of Comets. Tonight I want to take you into a story that is unfolding right now, one that feels like a blend of science and myth, yet is grounded in the most precise data our instruments can provide. This story begins with a discovery that shook me when I first read the reports. An interstellar object, the third of its kind ever detected by humanity, arriving in our solar system and heading directly into a dance with Mars. Astronomers first spotted it on July 1, 2025, using ground-based survey telescopes. At first, we catalogued it as just another rare interstellar visitor. We named it 3I Atlas, the third confirmed interloper after Oumuamua in 2017 and Borisov in 2019. These earlier travelers stirred debate, but they never threatened more than our imagination. 3I Atlas, however, is different. At first, it looked like a spectacular but harmless flyby, the kind of cosmic spectacle we celebrate. But very quickly, the numbers began to change. And with those changes, the entire narrative shifted. At Harvard University, astrophysicist Avi Loeb and his team recalculated the object's trajectory. NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory cross-checked their data. What they saw was unsettling. The path of 3I Atlas wasn't behaving like a passive comet obeying simple gravity. Instead, it appeared to be tightening, adjusting, even accelerating in ways that defied our expectations. Then came the revelation. New models showed that 3I Atlas might not just skim past Mars, it could actually collide with it. Now, pause and think about that. A comet-like body, estimated at 10 billion tons, traveling at 57 to 87 kilometers per second, could slam into our neighboring planet. That is energy on the order of 2 million megatons of TNT, thousands of times greater than the most powerful nuclear weapon ever tested on Earth. The impact could leave a crater more than 60 kilometers wide and 5 kilometers deep, throwing dust high into Mars's thin atmosphere, possibly scattering fragments into interplanetary space. But let's not leap too quickly to the impact. The mystery lies not just in its destination, but in its behavior. Space is chaotic. Natural comets spin, vent gas, and tumble. Their jets erupt unpredictably when sunlight hits ice patches, creating messy trails. But 3I Atlas doesn't play by those rules. Instruments aboard the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter detected that its coma, the glowing halo of gas and dust, had doubled in brightness since August. More than that, ultraviolet readings showed precise, high-energy pulses, not random, not chaotic, but steady, repeating like clockwork, every 17 minutes. That is not cometary behavior. That is something else. When the Gemini South telescope in Chile confirmed these emissions, astronomers were stunned. Comet outbursts are noisy, but they are never rhythmic. Yet here was a signal, repeating with machine-like precision. Some compared it to attitude thrusters on a spacecraft, firing in timed bursts to adjust trajectory. And those adjustments are no small matter. Calculations show that even a tiny velocity change, just 10 kilometers per second, could alter the object's fate from a close pass to a direct collision with Mars. For context, that's less thrust than a SpaceX Starship uses to escape Earth's gravity. The idea that a comet could generate that kind of intentional momentum through sublimation alone defies every known principle of comet science. NASA's Deep Space Network at Goldstone has joined the effort,
bouncing radar signals off the core of 3I Atlas. Leaked descriptions suggest the returns don't look like soft ice at all, but like something metallic. If those leaks are accurate, then the implications are staggering. A metallic interior wrapped in ice would suggest engineering, not geology. And if that's true, then what exactly are we looking at? Some argue it could be a derelict spacecraft, drifting for eons, camouflaged under frozen layers.
Others whisper that it might be deliberate, a probe, a messenger, perhaps even a test. The data itself doesn't answer intent, but it forces the question. In those same weeks, ESA's Mars Express caught something else. 3 tiny, glinting objects arranged in a triangular formation, orbiting Mars. At first dismissed as cosmic rays, they appeared again in the same positions across multiple orbits. Could they be fragments, scout probes? No one dares to say it officially, but behind closed doors, the question hangs heavy. Meanwhile, humanity watches with bated breath. The James Webb Space Telescope, once trained on galaxies billions of light-years away, now turns toward this enigmatic traveler at our doorstep. Hubble, too, has been redirected to capture its shifting tail. Even amateur astronomers, with modest backyard telescopes, are submitting images that show eerie green beams in its wake, beams that seem to pulse in rhythm with the ultraviolet bursts. If this sounds like a story from science fiction, remember, every piece of it comes from instruments we trust. From Harvard's orbital models to NASA's trajectory calculations. From Webb's infrared sensors to ESA's orbital images. And each layer adds to a growing unease. This is no ordinary comet. As I recount all this, I feel torn between wonder and dread. On one hand, we may be standing at the threshold of the most important discovery in human history. Undeniable evidence of intelligence beyond Earth. On the other, we are staring at the possibility of catastrophic impact, one that could cripple our efforts to explore Mars and scatter debris across the inner solar system. So here we are, waiting, calculating, watching. By September 26, 2025, 3I Atlas will thread the needle of Mars's orbit. Whether it misses by millions of kilometers or closes the gap to a direct strike may depend on those pulses, firing even as you listen to this. I invite you to step into this journey with me, not as passive spectators, but as fellow explorers in awe of what lies ahead, because whatever 3I Atlas truly is, comet, probe, or something beyond our imagination, it is about to remind us that the cosmos is alive with mysteries we are only beginning to understand. And I ask you, as a friend on this path, what do you believe? Is 3I Atlas a natural wonder acting in ways we don't yet understand? Or is it the first messenger of something far greater? Stay with me, because this is only the opening chapter. The story is about to grow stranger, and the evidence more unsettling. The deeper I dig into the data of 3I Atlas, the stranger the story becomes. What began as an astronomical curiosity has now turned into a case study in the unknown, a puzzle that refuses to fit any natural model we've ever built. And it's in this stage of the investigation that awe begins to collide with dread. Let's start with what the telescopes are telling us. Observatories around the world, from the Gemini South Telescope in Chile to the European Southern Observatory, have poured thousands of hours into dissecting the comet's tail and coma. Spectroscopy is one of our most reliable tools. It splits light into its components, letting us see the fingerprints of atoms and molecules. With comets, the pattern is usually familiar: water vapor, carbon dioxide, dust, organics, chaotic but understandable. But the fingerprint of 3I Atlas doesn't just look unusual,
It looks orchestrated. Instead of random peaks and troughs, scientists recorded sharp ultraviolet bursts every 17 minutes, perfectly timed, perfectly spaced. Imagine a lighthouse beam sweeping across the ocean, flashing at intervals too regular to be natural. This wasn't messy venting of sublimated ice. This was rhythm, a metronome in the void. That's when whispers began. Thrusters. At first I resisted. As a scientist, I know how easily our minds leap to patterns where none exist. But as the days passed, the data accumulated.
The pulses weren't artifacts of the instruments. They were consistent, reproducible across multiple observatories. Even NASA's Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, orbiting the red planet itself, measured the same clock-like emissions as the comet drew closer. If this is natural, then we are witnessing a process of physics no one has ever documented. If it is artificial, then the implications are staggering. We are watching a vehicle adjust its course in real time. Meanwhile, trajectory models at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory showed something deeply unsettling. Every pulse of gas nudged the object, aligning it closer to Mars's orbital plane. Each adjustment seemed purposeful. With each burst, the probability of a near miss shrank, and the possibility of impact grew. And here is the terrifying math. It only takes a velocity change of 10 kilometers per second to turn this object from a harmless passerby into a direct collision course. 10 kilometers per second may sound immense, but in the context of spaceflight, it is a fraction of the energy burned by a SpaceX Starship as it climbs through Earth's atmosphere. And 3I Atlas is already making those adjustments with clock-like regularity. This is when the James Webb Space Telescope stepped in. Webb, designed to peer into the oldest light of the universe, was now being redirected toward a comet in our own backyard. Its infrared instruments pierced the glowing haze, probing the interior of the coma. The data floored scientists. The core reflected in ways no ordinary ice and dust structure should. Radar from the Goldstone Deep Space Network backed this up, bouncing signals off the core that returned with metallic sharpness. One insider described it as hard echoes, not soft. In plain terms, the comet looked like it contained alloys, materials that don't simply form in the cold void of interstellar space. I can't overstate this. Alloys suggest engineering. But what truly changed the conversation was when analysts began decoding the ultraviolet pulses. At first, they looked like energy spikes. Then, patterns emerged. Harmonic layers, binary-like sequences, structures that echoed the hallmarks of information. The more the data was examined, the harder it became to dismiss the possibility that 3I Atlas wasn't just maneuvering. It was broadcasting. Broadcasting what? Here, the hypotheses splinter. Some argue this is a cosmic SOS, a warning signal from a civilization that perished long ago, sending out automated messengers across the galaxy like drifting beacons. If true, 3I Atlas could be one of countless refugee probes, carrying a record of catastrophe from a distant star. Others believe it could be reconnaissance, a probe sent deliberately to observe, to measure, perhaps even to test how young civilizations like ours respond. In this model, the pulses aren't cries for help, they are deliberate transmissions, waiting for someone intelligent enough to notice. And then there are the skeptics. They argue we are overreaching, that exotic but natural processes could mimic the appearance of signal. Supervolatile outgassing, magnetic field interactions, unknown cometary chemistry. These explanations deserve respect, but they are stretched thinner with every new piece of evidence. Meanwhile, mission planners at NASA are not sitting idle. I've read memos suggesting that the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter is being used as a forward radar station.
its high-resolution instruments trained constantly on 3I Atlas. SpaceX has been quietly asked whether a Starship launch could intercept or at least fly by the object, but the timing is brutal. Even at maximum velocity, no spacecraft we currently have could reach it before its closest approach in late September. Humanity can only watch, measure, and interpret, and this is where the tension becomes almost unbearable. By September 19th through 30th, 2025, the comet will enter its critical maneuvering window. If the pulses continue, if they close the last few tens of thousands of kilometers, we may watch as 3I Atlas aligns for direct impact with Mars. Imagine the scene. The red planet, already scarred by eons of craters, suddenly hosting a detonation so vast it dwarfs our largest weapons 1,000 times over. Mars rovers like Perseverance and Curiosity, gone in an instant. Orbital satellites, shredded by debris. Scientific data from decades of exploration, lost forever in a single blow. And yet, there's something even more haunting. If this is deliberate, then the impact itself may not be the message. The message may be hidden within the act. By crashing into Mars, 3I Atlas could release probes, scatter materials, or ignite reactions we cannot yet imagine. The decoded pulses might not just be transmissions, they could be instructions. A warning, a beacon, a demonstration. We don't know. But what chills me most is the possibility that this is how civilizations speak across the void. Not with gentle radio waves, but with actions written in planetary scars. That the first undeniable evidence of intelligence beyond Earth may not come as a peaceful handshake, but as a cosmic collision we cannot prevent. The weeks ahead will decide. Each day the pulses fire, each orbit we measure, the story sharpens. And as September approaches, we are left with a question that grows louder with every data packet. Are we watching a comet? Or are we watching a messenger on final approach? There are moments in science when discovery feels less like illumination and more like staring into an abyss. That is where we now stand with 3I Atlas. Each day that passes, each new observation from Hubble, Webb, or the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter adds weight to a realization that chills me. We are no longer debating whether this object is ordinary. The question now is how extraordinary it truly is. Think of what we already know. Its speed is unmatched, nearly 87 kilometers per second relative to the Sun, the fastest inbound traveler ever recorded. Its trajectory has tightened with uncanny precision, nudged closer and closer to Mars's orbital plane by rhythmic gas pulses no natural comet has ever displayed. Radar returns suggest metallic structures within its core. Photographs show eerie green beams of ionized gas converging toward Mars. And now, ESA's Mars Express has captured glinting objects orbiting the planet itself, in triangular formation, as though scouts were already waiting. Taken individually, each of these anomalies might be dismissed as coincidence or error, but together, they form a picture too stark to ignore. 3I Atlas behaves like a vehicle, not a rock. And that realization is terrifying. If it strikes Mars, the consequences will ripple far beyond a single crater. Yes, the physical destruction would be monumental, a blast equivalent to millions of megatons of TNT, gouging a crater 60 kilometers across, ejecting dust and debris high into orbit. Mars's thin atmosphere would glow with the aftermath. Satellites and rovers, decades of human investment, could be obliterated in an instant. But the threat doesn't end there. Models from multiple research teams, including analysts at MIT, show that fragments of debris could escape Mars's gravity
and scatter across interplanetary space. Within a decade, some of those fragments might drift toward Earth. What would they carry? Sterile rock? Or engineered materials? Perhaps even microbes designed to survive interstellar journeys? We do not know, and that uncertainty gnaws at me. Inside scientific agencies, the tension is visible. NASA issues calm, routine updates, careful not to fuel panic. ESA releases sanitized images. The European Space Agency, Roscosmos, CNSA, JAXA, all have reportedly convened emergency task forces. Leaked documents suggest planetary defense protocols, but none of it is public. Instead, silence spreads, broken only by whispers. And every day, the gap between official statements and leaked evidence grows wider. That silence has consequences. Across social media, speculation has exploded. Some accuse space agencies of hiding the truth. Others insist the entire story is exaggerated, that 3I Atlas is just another comet. Between these poles lies a polarized battlefield of opinion, where every blurry telescope photo becomes ammunition. Hashtags like Science Not Silence and Atlas Truth trend alongside skeptical dismissals. It's a mirror of humanity itself, hopeful, fearful, divided. Yet beyond the noise lies a deeper, more unsettling reflection. What if this really is artificial? What if 3I Atlas is not just a comet behaving oddly, but a messenger, designed, launched, and guided by intelligence not of this world? And here is the most sobering thought. Alien intelligence does not mean alien immortality. Civilizations, no matter how advanced, may rise and fall. They may scatter their machines into the galaxy like drifting seeds. Some may be probes of exploration. Others may be relics, monuments of survival attempts that failed. If 3I Atlas is one of these, then perhaps we are not witnessing an invasion, but a warning. A testament that intelligence itself is fragile, that even the most advanced civilizations can collapse. But if it is deliberate, if this object is being guided here for a purpose, then we are standing at the edge of a first contact unlike anything we imagined. Not with radio signals, not with gentle mathematical codes, but with a planetary strike. A message written in violence and dust. That possibility leaves me with a question that I cannot answer. Is the message meant for us? Or is Mars itself the target of some ancient plan? As September draws near, the stakes only sharpen. Every pulse recorded by Webb and Gemini South pushes the object closer to certainty. The window between September 19th and September 30th, 2025, may decide it all. If the pulses continue, if the thrust adds up, then Mars could become the stage for an event that echoes across human history. I find myself torn between awe and dread. Awe because we may be witnessing the first undeniable evidence that we are not alone in the universe. Dread because the form of that evidence may come not as communication, but as catastrophe. And so I turn to you, as fellow travelers on this journey. How should humanity respond to this possibility? Do we prepare defenses, even if we are powerless to intervene? Do we approach it with curiosity, hoping to learn from whatever unfolds? Or do we step back, humbled by forces far beyond our control? For me, one truth has already crystallized. Whether 3I Atlas strikes Mars or sails past into the deep night, humanity will not be the same. We have seen too much. We have learned that the cosmos is not silent, that even across light years, intelligence may leave its marks, its messengers, its warnings. And if intelligence can fail,
If civilizations can scatter their artifacts into the void as monuments of survival, then perhaps our greatest task is to ensure we do not join them, to prepare, to endure, to face the unknown with courage. 3i Atlas is coming. Its pulses fire like a heartbeat across the stars. Soon, Mars will either bear the scar of its passage or witness its escape. Either way, we will know very soon. And when we do, the universe will never look the same again. So I leave you with this. If tomorrow brought the first undeniable proof of alien intelligence, not in a friendly signal but in an impact, what would it mean for us, for our future, for our place among the stars?
As I step back and reflect on the journey of 3i Atlas, I am struck by how profoundly it has reshaped our imagination. What began as the discovery of a comet-like interstellar visitor has evolved into something far stranger. An object that pulses with rhythm, adjusts its path with precision, and may carry within it the fingerprints of alien engineering. Whether it collides with Mars or sails past into the depths of space, it has already left its mark. Scientists at NASA, ESA, and Harvard are united on one point. The data no longer fits the old narrative, and that forces us to face the unthinkable. If 3i Atlas is natural, then nature itself is capable of wonders beyond anything we've ever recorded. If it is artificial, then we are staring at proof that intelligence exists elsewhere, and that it may not endure forever. Civilizations can fail. Messages can outlive their makers, and warnings can arrive too late. For humanity, the lesson is both humbling and inspiring. We are fragile, yes, but we are also capable of looking into the night sky and recognizing that we are part of something vast. Our task is not only to search for life, but also to preserve our own, to ensure we do not become another lost voice drifting in the dark. So I ask you this. When you look at Mars in the coming weeks, and you think of 3i Atlas threading its path across the stars, what do you see? A comet obeying physics we don't yet understand? Or the first undeniable sign that we are not alone? Leave your thoughts in the comments and subscribe so we can continue this cosmic journey together.